It is Friday. You all made it. And I'm so happy you are ending the week with me here on Instagram Live. Yesterday, we had such an incredible Instagram Live talking about your physical and even emotional health with Christine Diarcole with One Peloton. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate all of you chiming in with questions and encouragement. But today, we're talking about your financial health. It is important now more than ever. I know so many of you are facing job losses, money losses, career uncertainty. So who better to help us sort it all out than Ted Jenkin, who is and CEO of Oxygen Financial and friend of HLN and our show On the Story. He has been with me since the very beginning of my career there at HLN, joining me for so many different interviews. Ted Jenkin, it's so good to see you. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Lynn.
Hey, it's so good to have you. So first, I just want to chime into all of our viewers, ask away, as I said in my Instagram post. You guys are the ones who drive these conversations, and you guys are the ones who always come up with the best questions. I'm just the person that delivers them. But I'll start with you, Ted, because when I pointed out why this was so important, so many people are facing job losses or fears of losing their job. We knew this was coming. Now we see company after company announcing layoffs. Just give folks a little bit of an idea of what they can do to reinvigorate their career, readjust their career, and sort of think differently if they are facing some of these fears.
Yeah, Lynn, I kind of focus even in our own businesses today on these 2A's, which is accept and adapt. And it's really important because I think a lot of people are still in denial that the coronavirus is happening. And very quickly, you can see that your company might shrink their overhead and they might start having to have layoffs. So it's really important that you try to get yourself planned in advance now with, I don't want to say a plan B, but start thinking about the what ifs, Lynn. Like, what if I do get laid off? Do I have a cash reserve that will sustain me for 90 days? What if my company tells me I'm going to take a 30% pay cut? What am I willing to cut out of my budget? Am I willing to cut out disposable expenses or luxuries that I had before? But I'd also think now I'm seeing a lot of people, Lynn, that are shrinking their lifestyle. People are going all over the place and saying, do I really need the stuff that I had before? And I think it's funny because I just moved, Lynn, and when you move your house, you start to realize over 15 or 20 years, you acquire all this stuff, much of which you don't use. I just tell people on today, just sell it. You want a quick way to raise $5,000 or $10,000, just sell the stuff that you don't use anymore and put it towards a better purpose.
Also downsize, something that I'm hearing from a lot of my friends in the Northeast, especially. People are moving out of big cities. They're reevaluating their lives and saying, if I'm going to be working from home, if I'm lucky enough to have a job, do I want to be living in a huge city, paying insane taxes, or do I want to move to a small town? What advice do you have for people that are maybe looking at something different for their life now?
Listen, this is not a temporary fad. I think as more people work at home, it'll probably end up being 1 or 2 out of 5 workers. There's going to be some permanency to having people be able to do their job in a remote location. And I would first look at the states that maybe have no state income taxes. So you have states out there like Texas and Florida. I know they're spiking with coronavirus right now, but they also have no taxes. Tennessee is a great state, here in sort of the Southeast United States. And then you've got some West Coast states like Wyoming. I've had a number of my clients, Lynn, that already have moved out to Wyoming right now, where you have zero tax whatsoever. And real estate costs can be much cheaper if you decide to move rural than living in urban. This is why you're seeing a flight from Manhattan and San Francisco and people moving to Bozeman, Montana, or they're moving down to the south here in Beaufort, South Carolina. The reason is because I can have a better lifestyle, a better place to raise my family, and not pay all those high taxes.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing that in New York City. It's basically a ghost town. And the governor there saying, please come back to New York. I mean, it's really going to be interesting to see how America's big cities recover from this and how Americans recover from this. I think also from big change and big crisis can come good things. A lot of people right now may be thinking about completely pivoting and going into their own business. This is something, Ted, you have experience with. You were in corporate America for years and years and years, decades, and then you started your own company, Oxygen Financial, which has grown to a massive, successful business. But in the beginning, we've talked about this before. It was really challenging. What advice do you have for people?
Look, it's probably the hardest move that you'll ever make. I spent almost 17 years with American Express and then opened my own business 12 years ago. When I did, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going from a six-figure income to zero, to no money at all. But most of you that are watching this, that are thinking, I'm frustrated. My boss won't let me do this. HR won't let me do this. I can't think and move fast enough for what I want to get done. Then you know in your heart that you probably want to be an entrepreneur. And whatever income hit you take over the short term, not only will you build cash flow, but you might actually build something that you own. And that's a very valuable asset, because when you work for a big company, you don't own anything. Lynn, big companies, they are run by two departments, HR and legal. That's it. It's not your boss. It's HR and legal that they run. And so I would tell people right now, just remember that, capitalism is evolving, and don't deny what's happening in this coronavirus. Like, go through the wave. Lynn, if you see movie theaters out there, maybe we won't have movie theaters ever again. I know it sounds weird, but maybe that will be the case, and those movie theaters will be robotic centers, or there'll be cloud kitchens. Like, lean into this, because this is going to have some permanency to it. And there are going to be opportunities for entrepreneurs that see that window of what's for the future, not living in, oh gosh, I wish it was the past. Lynn, 10 years ago, who thought that everyone would do stream and cable would be dead? Now, cable's not totally dead yet, but it will be. It will be dead, and everyone will have stream. So you have to accept that in a capitalistic environment, these things just evolve. Don't deny yourself that it's happening.
And I love that you say lean into it and maybe look for some of those opportunities. Where do you see those opportunities, low-hanging fruit, that right now are just the hot pockets of activity that are going on?
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for a job immediately, the number one thing is to provide like virtual assistant services. There are so many people that are starting businesses or have businesses, and they need assistance. And if you can do that virtual assistant stuff from your house, you can schedule, calendar, talk to customers, handle basic Excel spreadsheets and Microsoft Word documents. You can make 50 grand a year, no problem.
Where do you find jobs like that? Is that like LinkedIn? Like where would someone find a job like that?
LinkedIn, Indeed, Glassdoor. And even if you just hit up the local Chamber of Commerce's right now, business owners need to have different kinds of virtual help. Now customer service jobs are growing like crazy because there's much more online shopping that's being done. Think about a company like Wayfair that has grown like crazy and will continue to grow like crazy because everyone's spending money to fix up their home office. May not be as nice as our backgrounds. I don't know. Our backgrounds look pretty cool today, but people are going to spend $1,000 to $2,000 to probably fix up their home office. And so customer service jobs are big. Bookkeeping jobs online virtually are big right now. Small business owners need help with bookkeeping. That has all gone virtual. So again, if you have a skill or a trade, you can go quickly on a website like Fiverr, Fiverr, and just start selling your services. Maybe you have some graphic design skills. Maybe you're good at social media. Maybe you know how to do voiceovers, and you could do that as well. There's so much that can be done in the gig economy today if you just lean into it.
You know what I've learned, just even from Nextdoor app? A lot of young people are going in and saying, why do I want to spend $60,000 a year on college? I'm going to take a year off and become a tutor for all of these parents that can't handle homeschooling.
Well, Lynn, 100%. Look, kids that are younger right now are going to be in tons of these learning pods or micro schools, as they call them. But a lot of parents don't necessarily have aftercare. And for kids that are a little bit older, they are not going to be able to get that before school or after school help like they normally could. Hey, I'm going to go in 30 minutes before school starts and I'm going to see the teacher. Well, that's not going to be there. And many parents still want their child to get a great education. Kids are still going to have to do well on their SATs or ACTs. And that virtual tutoring is going to continue to be, it's going to be massive.
Vino has a question here. He is one of our loyal Instagram live viewers.
Morning.
I'm always so glad to have you here with us. And you're talking about the huge digital gap between urban and rural areas in America, even in urban areas, underprivileged areas where it's access to computers, access to Wi-Fi. And what people can do also, if they're not as digitally savvy, in still being able to maybe have some of these gig jobs?
Well, listen, it's a major problem with our government and what we need to be doing. Like, every family should have access. They talk about a basic right of health insurance. Every family should have the basic right to be able to have access to the internet, and because it's where everything is today. And I would think eventually here, maybe next year, you're going to see some sort of digital infrastructure plan go into place. But if you don't have access to a computer, there are very cheap computers to get today, small Chromebook type computers that may only be a few $100s. That will give you some, the ability to get access to the internet. And YouTube is your favorite friend. I mean, you can take a course on almost anything for free on YouTube, or there's a great place called Udemy, Udemy, and Udemy has these great tutorial courses. I self-taught myself, Lynn, how to build out a YouTube channel that I'm going to launch, and I will try to plan to make money doing it. And I didn't know anything about how to do it, but I watched other people teach me on YouTube. That's the beauty of YouTube today.
I want to talk about this YouTube channel that you're looking at, because I know there are a ton of people. My cousin actually just posted this YouTube channel and said, please follow me, because if I have 1,000 followers, then I start making some money.
That's right.
What is it that you've learned? What are you going to be doing on this YouTube channel?
Well, your cousin's exactly right. On YouTube, if you build a channel, you can't monetize until you have 1,000 subscribers and at least 4,000 hours of your videos being watched. Then you can sign up for a Google ad account. But, over my career, I don't know for what reason it is. I mean, I just have this face that people want to ask me questions. and
you're also a therapist.
Yeah, I'm a therapist. And I have, people will say, well, why'd you do that? It's like, well, Ted told me, or just ask Ted. He knows, or you just Ted will figure it out. And so, I've always been that therapist / loyal person that people have come to for advice. And I'm going to share the secrets of what I've done. Because, Lynn, I started my career and I had $67 in my bank account. I didn't even have $100. And my father passed away. And when my dad passed away, my mom was a 5th grade school teacher. You all know that you're watching most underpaid profession in America. Amen. I love my mother. They should be paying teachers triple what they're paying them today. But I said, I'm going to figure out how to make it. And so I try to teach myself these things. And over 30 years, I've learned a lot of stuff. And I want to help people do better, personally, professionally, financially, family-wise, and I'm going to create videos that are real action-oriented and tutorial to help people do better.
I also, in hearing your personal story, when you and I have talked offline, I love that, another motivating factor for you has been your mother, who, when your father passed away, just had no idea about finances. And I think there are so many households, whether it's the husband, the wife, the partner, that is in that same situation, that really is like, I don't handle the finances. I don't know what's going on. And then if there's some sort of tragic situation, you're in a lurch. What are some of those really important questions you need to be asking as a family right now? Because whether it's a job loss or money loss, people are in tough times.
Yeah, unfortunately, I grew up in that household where mom and dad didn't talk about the finances. And in fact, Lynn, it still is pervasive today. Even though women in many households now are starting to become the dominant earner in the household, there's still very difficult for couples to talk about money because people just have different vantage points about what money means and how money will make them happy and what it should be used for. And you want to be asking mostly now, what kind of debt are we actually in? Because a lot of times one spouse can just take out a credit card and not tell the other spouse. And then you find out later that your spouse has $10,000 of credit card debt. Or they may have side accounts that they've never really talked about, or they may have borrowed on their 401k plan and just never mentioned it. And it's really hard to have those conversations saying, yeah, I went online and it was only $1,000 on the credit card, then I didn't pay the bills, and now it's $2,000, and now it's $5,000. And you want to have that discussion. You also want to be talking about, what are you willing to cut back on if it comes to that? It's a lot of people, I hate the word budget. It's a nasty word. I really like the term spending plan as a family, and thinking about your family like a business and saying, what do we actually spend money on? None of us have an infinite amount of income. We all have a finite amount of income. And so where are we spending money, and what is it that is really important to us to keep? And what is it that isn't, that we could remove? And where can we just do better than we're doing now? Lynn, when I cut the cord as an example, I'm literally now YouTube TV and I'm fiber. So basically I think about it, I have Google Fiber and TV. For going for my cable bills, I went down $200 a month. And for a lot of families, that $200 a month could mean the difference of an extra vacation this summer for your kids, or, you know, things that'll make your family happier. Is that extra $200 really making you happier now?
Yeah, you also have a book talking about this, really how to cleanse your finances. Tell us a little bit about what this 21-day budget cleanse is, where they can learn a little bit about your book.
Well, this is all about having a leaner budget, a fatter wallet, and a bigger net worth. And that this is not about frugality, right? So when I talk to people about this, it's not about completely shift your lifestyle and become an extreme couponer person. That's not what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. What we're saying is that when you go on diets and exercise, typically it's 21 days until you form a habit. And nobody does that with their budget because it's difficult. So we take one piece of your budget every day. We tell you exactly what to do in the book and how to shop that one particular area and then make a change. And getting more cash flow in your family is about inches. It's not about yards. So if you can save $20 on your electric bill and $10 on your gas bill and $20 with your personal auto and home insurance, all of that over time could lead to $400, $500, $600, which could be the difference of you retiring successfully and retiring living on Social Security.
Right. That's sort of what hits you over the head, right? It's like those small things. You gave me a great piece of advice years and years and years ago. Take a certain amount of money out of your paycheck, put it into a savings account. Don't even look at it. It's not there. I did that years and years and years ago. It's actually sitting there growing every single month. And now we're looking at it as we look to expand our home and things like that. And it has really saved us in that regard. Okay. We want to talk politics now. And I want the disclaimer here on the bottom of the screen that says, we are not biased. This is not any kind of agenda. You are someone who is agnostic when it comes to politics. You talk straight. It's an important conversation to be had because come this November, the economy is going to be the #1 topic when it comes to voters. It's on the forefront of people's minds. Can you break down for us the way you see the two different economic plans playing out?
Yeah, I can. And I echo what Lynn's saying on here. You know, I'm politics agnostic, Lynn, because in 30 years of doing this, I don't get a hall pass to make people money. So whether it's red in the White House or blue in the White House, nobody says, oh, Ted, we have a president who's not doing well. Don't worry that you lost us hundreds of thousands of dollars. We're okay with it. You know, nobody says that. But people need to understand the difference in the way that the camps are thinking about it. So if Biden becomes elected, they're very much going to move to a tax scale. And for many people, it probably will not affect them, that heavily taxes wealthy people in this country. So today, Lynn, I'll give you 3 or 4 examples. The first is Social Security. Most people in here may not realize this, but 6.2% of every one of their paychecks pays into Social Security. And your employer also puts in 6.2%. So you may not have realized this, but 12.4% of every paycheck goes into Social Security to fund that down the road. When you make up to about $138,000 in this country, you pay into Social Security and then it stops. In a Biden proposal, that would go in perpetuity. So what it would mean is if a family made $500,000, they would pay an extra 6.2% on all of their income in perpetuity, period. If you have stocks or real estate and you sell them, you pay something called capital gains. The capital gains tax maximum in our country is 20%. In a Biden camp for wealthy people, it will go to 40%. Now, that is not a 20% increase. That is a 100% increase in taxes. And you'll see things like that are more complicated. The average American will not understand this, but you won't get something called a step up in basis. And it sounds really confusing, Lynn, but it's this simple. Your parents owned a home. They bought it for $100,000. It's now worth $1 million, and you and your sister inherit it. And when you do and you sell it under today's world, if you sold it, your cost basis would be $1 million, which means if you sold the property tomorrow, you pay no tax at all after they died. In the new world, you would pay the $900,000 difference between what they bought it for and what you sold it for. And so it would be a massive amount of tax. So just know, I think you even saw this week, Bernie Sanders put out a billionaire's tax proposal so you just know that taxes, mostly on the wealthy, and I define wealthy for people on here, people making more than 250,000, will go massively up. For most
sorry, go ahead, finish that.
Most middle class Americans, you won't see much effect. Under Trump, you're going to see more of the same, or him trying to get it even lower. Okay, and that means maybe trying to move the corporate tax rate to 15%, trying to continue to decrease capital gains tax. It doesn't make Trump or Biden a bad or a good person. I'm not telling you that one economic plan will work better than the other. You'll have economists that will tell you all of these are going to create more dollars in our economy. It just depends on how you see the way that you want to see the future tax-wise, and put the social issues aside. Again, I focus less on the social issues and more on the financial issues. It's more a tax the wealthy under Biden. That's what you'll see.
And one question that I know a lot of people who are watching this, because I hear this over and over again, is why isn't that a good thing when it comes to they have the money and we need the money for social programs? What is the downside of taxing the wealthy?
Yeah. I mean, the upside of taxing the wealthy, and this could certainly work, is that, they call it a redistribution of wealth, is that obviously we have a massive disparity in this country between people that have a lot of wealth and people that are making minimum wage still under $15, in many states still under $10. And so trying to close that divide is the reason why the wealthy would get taxed. That's kind of the plan behind it. The downside, and maybe the unintended consequence, is that if I'm an entrepreneur, Lynn, and I employ 50 people, and I'm thinking about growing to 100 people, but every new dollar that I make, I lose 60% of it to the government. And then when I sell my business, I lose another 40%. I might be thinking to myself, what the hell do I want to take this kind of risk on for at all? And your risk is you have entrepreneurs that say, it's just not worth it. I might as well just start firing people and I'll make less money. What do I care? And that's a real risk. And, we don't know how that will play out.
Which translates into less jobs.
It could. Very much could.
Separated from politics, and thank you, that sort of breaks things down. I don't think a lot of people are talking about sort of everyone's just afraid that they're going to be blasted for one opinion or the other, and I think that really breaks it down very clearly for people, that it's not about whether or not one's right or wrong. It's just educate yourself on what it is. Let's talk about some money moves people could be making right now and some of the things that you're looking at when it comes to businesses to invest in and stock to look at, because actually you say in some cases this is a good time.
Oh, it's a great time. I love it. It's like, listen, Jimmy Buffett had a favorite tune from a song, and it said, it's always 5 o'clock somewhere. And I always think about that way when it comes to investing, because it is always 5 o'clock somewhere. And so for people watching, listen, forget about the pundits on TV. And even though I get to do TV sometimes, I say that knowing that I do TV as well. I've always tried to have a common sense approach to investing. It's how I built my wealth. And I follow a philosophy many years ago that was built by a guy named Peter Lynch, who did a really famous book. And use your common sense here. People are going to be working from home over the next 12 months. So think about what's going to do well around people that are working at home the next 12 months. I already mentioned companies like Wayfair. If you look at broadband and what's going to happen with video conferencing, Lynn, that we're doing. So you look at your companies like Zoom and Cisco WebEx and those type of things, they're naturally going to do well. People are going to want to install faster piping in their household for the internet. That's going to do extremely well. Telemedicine was already on the rise. It's going to do well. A great fund for people to look at is one called EDOC, EDOC, which is all about telemedicine. There's actually a fund, Lynn, called WFH. It's not WTF, it's WFH, and that stands for work from home. And it's a work from home fund. So if you don't want to pick one company and you're worried, then I would look at something like that. big tech will continue to do well. Look, listen, if you're online shopping on Amazon and Wayfair, buy Amazon and Wayfair. You know, you buy what you own and what you know and you see in front of you. Home improvement, Lynn, people who are not spending money on leisure, travel, hospitality, and entertainment, they're going to be going to Home Depot and Lowe's and buying more stuff and doing those fix them up projects that they were going to do before. Or I know I've been married a long time. You have one spouse in the household that said, it's time to do the kitchen. It's time to do the bedroom. It's time to do the bathroom. And people, Lynn, are swapping homes. Home sales for new home sales and selling homes and buying homes is on fire right now because mortgage rates are low. So you're going to see home improvement projects do really well over the next 12 months. So those are the kind of areas that I look at that they make. Chegg is a good example of a company that makes sense to me. They're big on online tutoring. We talked about that in the Instagram here. That all makes sense. So just think about that, and that is the way to invest your money.
We have a great question here on the topic of investment. What's your take on Bitcoin or even gold investment? Is it advisable?
I like them both. Let's face it, we're $26 trillion in debt, right? And if you believe paper might be worth nothing at some point, then what's worth something? What's worth something is things like gold, which is why you saw it recently cross $2,000 an ounce. And, you know, Bitcoins can be a little bit dicey because I still don't think we know what cryptocurrency will really come to the front. But it's obviously been the one that's been around the longest on here. So it's putting a small amount of money in something like Bitcoin. I do like that. I think Bitcoin could get to 20,000. If the dollar continues to fall, if paper is continue to be devalued around the world, that's all paper, not just our dollar. I like both of those for a piece of the portfolio.
Ted, this has been such an amazing conversation and so educational for all of us. As you point out, you are just the source when it comes to trustworthy financial advice. Tell people where they can follow you, where they can learn more about what it is that you're doing.
Well, listen, if you DM me here on The Real Ted Jenkin, I will get you a copy of my book. No cost to you at all, only because I'm a huge fan of Lynn's. I will get it to you. And just simply go to oxygenfinancial.com. We have tons and tons of white papers I've written over the year. You can have all those. It doesn't cost you a nickel. And by the way, financial planning doesn't have to cost you an arm and a leg. It doesn't matter if you make $50,000 or you make $500,000. We don't have minimums. I started this business to help families do better, not to help wealthy families do better. So whatever level you're at, there's always a starting point to get on the train and start moving towards your goals.
You really are so genuine in your desire to help people based on where you came from, and the family that you have now is a testament to the great person that you are as well. Ted, your dear friend. Graham, my husband, also says hello. He was setting up my shot. And he's like, tell Ted I said hi. So it's just so wonderful to have you here on Instagram Live. And of course, as always, we'll have you on the show. You could also watch Ted on CNN. He is on New Day often on the weekend and also on Weekend Express. Ted Jenkin, it's such a pleasure.
Thank you, Lynn.
Bye. I'll talk to you soon.